Baldur's Gate 3 has been an absolute blast to play. Despite around 200 hours of playtime at this point, I can't say I've come close to getting bored in the game. The game is massive and there are a lot of small things that can go unnoticed for a while as you get sucked into the game. All of these tips today that I'm going to be sharing with you are things that I really wish I knew before I got into the game, as some of these had a massive impact on my quality of life once I learned them. I decided I wanted to share them with you to save you some headache and boost your enjoyment of the game. All of these are spoiler free and won't ruin the wonder of your first new player experience, as they're all general mechanical tips that will save you time, make sure you don't miss out on story, and make the most out of your time in Faerun. So, let's jump in, adventurers. My first tip to you is something that didn't actually exist when I started playing at launch, but I think anyone just starting out should know, because some of you live for character creators. Once you get out of the intro to the game, you will be able to customize your character in camp freely at will. So if you can't decide between one pair of earrings or another, or even a hairstyle, don't worry. You can always mix it up later. I personally used this once it came out to make my half-orc's beard longer since he had been traveling for so long. I didn't figure he was taking the time to shave on the trail. Next up is something I didn't learn until I had almost beaten the game. When you're adventuring around, you will occasionally find pouches or packs full of loot. You can straight up just right-click on those and pick them up and hang on to them to organize your inventory. You could have a pouch for potions, a pouch for arrows, and a backpack for scrolls. The sky is the limit. The only thing you can't do yet is name them. Hopefully they add that at some point because I really would like to do that. But yeah, needless to say that when my friend pointed that out, I felt like an idiot. A very unorganized idiot. This third tip is one that really would have helped me out of a couple binds early on in the game. As you adventure, you will gain inspiration for doing or experiencing things that resonate with a character's background. An important part of this is that you can only ever have up to 4 inspiration. If you gain an inspiration while you have 4, that character will still gain inspiration experience, but the actual mechanical benefit of another inspiration will be lost forever. So, my advice, just hang on to 2, maybe 3 at most. Don't be afraid to use a few, especially early on, as they come pretty quick in the early game especially. Fourth is a tip that can really save you some serious time and headache, especially if you tend to use the same characters. The custom tab on the bottom of the action bars is more helpful than it sounds when you first look at it. While you can customize the main bar and move things around as well, the custom bar actually has built-in hotkeys going from number 1 up to the equal sign. So you can use it to quickly do certain things in combat, customize to your most common moves, and you don't even have to select that bar to use those hotkeys if you remember them. Pretty slick. The 5th and 6th tips are huge gameplay helpers that I can't believe the game doesn't lay out right at the start. Before we get to those though, if you're finding these tips helpful, drop a like and subscribe to stay up to date with more Baldur's Gate 3 and other fantasy game guides and gameplay content. Alright, tip number 5. While you're playing, you can hold the Alt key to see the majority of lootable and interactable item names pop up, so you can quickly identify loot to grab or things to open. Simple barrels and crates may not always get marked, but that doesn't mean they have nothing for you loot goblins out there, so keep checking. Bonus tip, you can also hold Shift to see the detection cones of nearby NPCs, so you don't need to waste a sneak attempt trying to hide only to realize you're in a vision cone that you didn't even notice, and it will show what the light level is at your mouse cursor. Now this next tip is one that actually made me a little angry at the game when I figured it out, because it popped up a tutorial for it after I was forced to kill a few NPCs due to my conversational rolls failing. Or so I thought. It turns out in the passive tab, even at the start of the game, there is a toggleable ability to switch to non-lethal attacks. Now this only works for melee attacks. Spells and ranged attacks that reduce an enemy to 0 hit points will always kill them unless otherwise stated by that ability. This is seriously a lifesaver for when the dice gods don't favor you, but you really don't want to kill someone for role-playing purposes. The 7th tip is a big one for your story. In general, don't be afraid to long rest. There are a few spots where long resting will progress the game state of certain quests, but it is usually only if you rest after getting to a very specific spot, and in general will seem very obvious. But overall, skipping out on rests can make you miss certain story beats with your companions and miss out on dialogue forever. Playing through the game multiple times, I realized how many conversations just never happened my first playthrough because I was determined to rest as little as possible. So take your time and enjoy your evening's respite. My 8th and final tip to you is applicable to honestly any video game, it seems. Don't be afraid to use your consumables. I can't stress this enough. I finished the game with over 300 consumables between potions, spell scrolls, arrows, and more. Some elixirs last until a long rest, some spells are just low level and won't do you much good later. So live it up and use those things. While it can be prudent to keep some things in reserve in case things get really bad, I and many others went the other way and struggled through spots in the game because they didn't seem hard enough to justify consumable usages that could have helped, only to end the game on a dragon's hoard of loot. And there it is, my fellow adventurers. 8 tips that I wish I would have been told before I started Baldur's Gate 3 a few months ago. I'd love to hear what your favorite tip here was, or if there's another tip you think fresh adventurers would benefit from that won't ruin that new player feeling for them. Drop it in the comments below. I'll be cooking up some more Baldur's Gate 3 guide content, but in the meantime, you should check out my live stream series where I'm taking 4 custom paladins through the game on tactician difficulty. It's a crazy, chaotic, and interesting ride, but until next time, adventurers, safe travels.